Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. This Sunday sees the Old Firm game, Rangers versus Celtic, to be played at Ibrox. It's the first of the Old Firm games that will be played under Humza Yousaf's idiotic hate crime law. And one suspects that come the end of the game, police lines will be inundated with calls from Celtic fans predominantly, moaning about the chants and the sectarian hatred of the Rangers supporters. Various songs will be sung. The Sash, the Famine song, songs about the Pope. We all know this. Castle Grayskull will ring loud with these various chants and songs and things. And it'll be no different when the reciprocal match occurs at Celtic Park. Only then it'll be the Rangers supporters ringing up the police in their thousands. Now, this ground is going to be filled with it. There aren't enough policemen. How could the police arrest and question and record and investigate every single person in that crowd? Because that's what the law demands. This law has no exceptions. When a hate crime occurs, the police must investigate, report and respond. Now, I don't know how many thousands of people are going to be in that ground on Sunday, but there's going to be many, many thousands, and they will all have to be individually questioned if this law is to be policed properly. So the option for the police is this: do they follow the law and do what they do and question every single person and take notes and write it all down and record it? Or do they ignore the law? And if the police ignore the law at a football match, then that sets a precedent. And sectarian chanting will therefore no longer be a crime. The police will have set the precedent that they will not investigate sectarian chanting. It seems very, very difficult for Humza Yousaf to not look like a complete and utter dickhead over this entire issue. Sunday will be the day the law dies. Let's take a look. So, police will be inundated with Old Firm hate crime complaints as lawyers warn chants do fall under the scope of the new law. Because of course they do. It's quite clearly obvious. Religion. Former BBC Scotland head of legal Alistair Bonington warned that technically almost everyone at an Old Firm game should be arrested. But Thomas Ross KC said the new law is too complicated for any prosecutions. A legal expert has suggested that technically almost everyone in the 48,000 crowd watching this weekend's Old Firm clash will be in danger of being arrested due to the imposition of new Hate Crime Act. Now, the Act is very, very specific. It must be acted upon. There is no exceptions. This is the whole point. The police do not have the option of not investigating. The law says they must. And so every single person, 48,000 people in that ground, as they come out, every single one of them's got to be stopped, questioned, name taken, blah, 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 blah. And then it's got to go up. They've got to do the full report on every one, all 48,000. Then record all 48,000. And then respond to each person's individual complaint. That should tie up Police Scotland till at least 2035. Anyway, Sunday's clash at Ibrox between Rangers and Celtic is seen as the first real test of Humza Yousaf's controversial new legislation. And a top KC today predicted Police Scotland switchboards will be inundated with complaints from the minute the match kicks off. It's on TV, isn't it? Of course it is. It's always on TV. I think on Sky. The claims come as football chiefs are said to be furious that they have been left completely in the dark as for the implications to the game by this bill. The Hate Crime and Public Order Scotland Act 2021 creates the new offence relating to age, disability, religion, sexual orientation, transgender identity or being intersex. The offence is committed if someone communicates material, or behaves in a threatening or abusive manner with the intention of stirring up hatred based on these protected characteristics. And when you're standing there in a mass, 48,000 strong, singing songs directed at, in this case, Sunday, Catholics, it can be nothing else. It's got to be a crime. And therefore, the police are going to have to deal with it. That's the law. No exceptions. Good luck. An offence has been committed if... We've just done that bit, sorry. Since it became law on Monday, more than 4,000 complaints will be made to Police Scotland. One every 22 seconds. That was just in the first day. It's been a week now, or nearly. And by time Sunday comes, it'll be a week. Only Sunday. You think there was a lot so far. Boo! It's going to go up like a rocket. If that rate continues, it'll be more than 1 million hate reports under the new legislation will have to be investigated by the force. Given his view on the new bill, the former head of legal at BBC Scotland, Alistair Bonington, said the legislation was so wide-ranging that technically everyone at an Old Firm game should be arrested. Former law lecturer explained Rangers fans have various songs about the Pope. Well, we all know them, don't we? Some of which are extremely rude, and they make a lot of jokes about Catholic priests being sex offenders. That's not a joke. Then Celtic sing Irish Republican songs. These religious hatreds, he says, could fall within the Act. No, they do. They absolutely do fall within the Act. Both ways, let's be fair. I'll play fair. It's both ways. He says, in fact, I don't think there's any doubt that they do. After all, that's the whole point what these songs are about. Now, that is Thomas Ross. Now, if you do go across over to my good friend Craig Houston's channel, during the week, I think, or possibly about a week ago now, he actually had Mr. Ross, Thomas Ross KC, on, and was questioning him about the whole of the hate crime bill. And it's a very, very interesting thing, an interesting piece. Some very good questions were asked and brilliant answers were given. And I recommend that you go across to Craig Houston Talks to, is the channel if you're not there yet. Subscribe to his channel and then have a little search for the interview with this guy that Craig did. Highly recommend it. Meanwhile, Thomas Ross KC, he we just talking about, predicted Police Scotland would be inundated with hate crime reports from Celtic fans. Visiting supporters are banned from the fixture due to the safety and security reasons. Mr. Ross said one notorious chant known as the Famine Song, mentioned it earlier, could amount to an offence under the new legislation. He told the Mail Online, the new Section 4 offence is committed where a person behaves in a manner that a reasonable person would consider to be abusive or insulting. And that's the whole point of these songs, isn't it? To abuse, to insult, and it's done with a religious overtone. Therefore, absolutely done. They've got to stop everyone. Good luck, Police Scotland. You are screwed royally by the moron sitting in charge of Scotland. I mean, honestly, Bute House is now filled with a dick, isn't it? It's just Scotland's biggest dick. Anyway, he went on. There was controversy some years ago about a song sung by some Rangers fans that became known as the Famine Song. That song contained a line that the famine is over, why don't you go home? A reference to the arrival of the Irish in Glasgow in the 1840s. There was no famine, they simply forgot where they'd planted the potatoes. I can say that. My father is an Irish Catholic. If anyone else says it, that would be racism. I myself am an Irish Protestant, although I now find myself to be that rarest of beasts, an Irish atheist, just to clear it out. But when you grow up on both sides of that particular divide, you find religion is kind of a bit worrying. And so just to explain that that's where I come from. But I can say that gag, no one else can. Anyway, Mr. Ross continued, it may well have constituted an aggravated offence under the old legislation, but although it was sometimes sung, I'm unaware, he says, of anyone being prosecuted for doing so. It is likely the match will give rise to complaints about alleged breaches of the new legislation. Every Celtic supporter will be sitting there on Sunday and waiting. 3 o'clock, phone, ready, boom, go, blah, 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 and they'll go. And there's going to be thousands, and the police have to investigate every single complaint made. And the police on the ground will hear this and they'll have to question every single person coming out. That's the law. If they don't do it, the law is dead. It's fantastic. This law is in a shambles anyway, isn't it? It's a complete screw up. And it's not going to get better. But it is going to get funner. I'm coming up. So here we have this problem with this hate crime bill that Humza Yousaf established. The bill itself states that all hate incidents must be reported, investigated and responded to. That's the law. The trouble, of course, is Humza Yousaf is a complete moron, and he failed to see the consequences of this. He failed to see that when you get 48,000 people in a stadium all chanting sectarian songs one way or the other, that the hate crime bill still stands. There's no exceptions. And so what happens tomorrow, or Sunday, sorry, is one of two things. Either the police say, no, we can't deal with it, and they allow it, in which case the Hate Crime Act is dead, or they hold every single person in that stadium and question them one at a time and they leave, in which case they'll be there for weeks. What do you think is going to happen, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, me too. Thanks for watching. I tell you, it's cracking, isn't it? Thanks for watching. I will speak to you later. Until then, goodbye.